Hi folks, I'm P.A. Morand, aka the Back Pain Coach, and welcome to the Physical Education Podcast, where we're going to be discussing all of the mind-body aspects of chronic pain and chronic back pain in particular. So today I'm going to be talking about our ability for inner perception, or interoception as it might be called by others. And this is our ability to tune into the natural rhythms of our bodies, to observe them, to learn from them, and possibly influence them to improve our health. So in the simplest terms, I'm going to be discussing how the various parts and systems of our bodies have a natural rhythm. And this rhythm is the result of various internal reactions of our blood flow, of our metabolism, of our breathing, and the whole interplay of all the parts of a living body, all sort of communicating and working together like an orchestra, which would be a nice way of thinking about it. And essentially the brain is directing everything, and conversations are happening between all of these different parts. And much of this, it's not directly perceivable. It can't be felt in the same way that you can feel with your hands or via your skin, but it's felt rather as a ripple, as a knock-on effect of the ebb and flow of the body's internal processes and its architecture of the bone structure, and of it all working together and rippling and echoing out to the skin. So this rhythm, it's an undeniable aspect of the human body, but really what is contentious is its interpretation. That's what's up for debate. So today what I want to share is my own personal experience of noticing this rhythm, as well as how I interpret it and how I believe it may help you to better inhabit your body and overcome the detrimental effects of stress and trauma. So the point is going to be to give you the skills to perceive your body's natural internal rhythm and infer information from that, and try different interventions to improve that in order to improve your health. And so what I'm going to share is based on the broad field of craniosacral therapies. It's based on, I've done some limited study on the topic of craniosacral therapies, but then it's also based on my personal experience of receiving that form of treatment, and then on my own introspective practices that I engage in on a regular basis, that are sort of like a meditation and a mindful movement practice. So it would seem that when the body suffers various traumas, be it physical or mental, these can leave an imprint or an impression on a body. So if you think of a cut, for example, it leaves a wound, and it may leave a scar once it has healed. And I believe it's fair to say that our bodies and minds have scars, whether visible or invisible, from the traumas we experience. Now, depending on our levels of stress at the time of these traumas, and depending on the severity of the trauma and our resilience and resourcefulness, these scars can either fully heal or heal poorly or only partially, and so on. So the point is, the impact that traumas have on our lives is dependent on our ability to heal. And I suspect that in a lot of cases of chronic pain, we've accumulated a lot of these areas of trauma that haven't fully healed. And they don't heal fully because the body is under chronic physiological stress, and it becomes sort of a continuous cycle. So, for example, you suffer a significant trauma that creates a state of chronic physiological stress, and now you're prone to more problems because of that state of chronic physiological stress. And then on the other hand, what could happen is you could be under chronic physiological stress due to lifestyle factors and decisions you make, which then in turn makes you susceptible to more traumas, and means that minor injuries or issues become major problems because your body is so depleted and unable to cope with even minor stressors. In any case, I believe we build up this sort of baggage. So over time we build up these scars. I want to use that word scars very loosely. It's not about physical scars, but it's like imprints and impressions on the body, and we build this up over our lives, and it's this sort of mental and emotional and physical baggage that we carry with ourselves. And people commonly think of it as aging, and they accept that as, as time goes by, things will simply deteriorate and there's nothing to be done about that. And I believe the influence and relevance of aging is often overstated. Of course, it is a real thing, and there will be a certain amount of deterioration over time. But I believe a lot of what it is simply an accumulation of unresolved stresses and traumas on the body. So I'm generally very hesitant to use computer analogies or analogies that are very mechanical to describe the workings of the body, but I think it can help to think of it like clearing your hard drive. So getting rid of files and junk that clog up your memory and slow things down, maybe removing the dust from the fan on your computer. Obviously this isn't 100% accurate, and our bodies are not computers, but once you understand that this is mostly a convenient metaphor, I think it helps to understand that our bodies accumulate stresses and traumas over time, and we can benefit from mitigating and addressing these. So we can benefit from every now and then clearing all of that stuff, or having a continuous process of clearing this stuff. And this goes back to the reality that wellness is a lifelong pursuit. We understand that we need to take care of ourselves continuously. We don't attain health once and then we have it, then we've caught it and we hold on to it for the rest of our lives. It's a continuous process, and I think it's best to think of chronic pain as a result of us not honoring our body's needs for lifelong care. So when chronic pain occurs and it persists far beyond any reasonable time, it's because we're simply not matching the body's needs, and we're not taking enough care of it. We might be taking care of it, but not enough. So what is my point with all this? In my own experience, perceiving, observing, and influencing my body's internal rhythm has helped me to understand where my body has stored, so to speak, trauma, and where trauma has left an impression and what ripple effect this has throughout my body. It seems it's possible to guide the body's self-healing mechanisms and to sort of coax and release these retained traumas. So like I said, it's like we build up scars in quotation marks, around our body. We build up negative imprints and impressions, and it takes a toll on our bodies, and basically our body becomes very good at protecting these things and repressing these things and hiding these things, and that can keep us in pain. So this sort of internal interoceptive practice helps us locate these things, understand their ripple effect in the body, so as you notice them, see what effect they have throughout the body, and then hopefully allow your body to process them and sort of let them go, like clearing out those files that are clogging up and slowing down the system. So again, going back to that computer analogy. Now, I'd like to guide you through my own process of doing this to give you a better sense of what I mean, and to hopefully give you some tools that you can use to reduce your pain and improve your health. So I think it's best to do this while lying down. So if you can do that, perfect. If not, try this again when you can lie down. You can also do it in any position that's comfortable. So if it's uncomfortable to lie down, then you can try it in whatever position is most comfortable for you. But whatever position you choose, you should feel well supported, and like you can let your skeleton be supported by the ground rather than having to maintain muscular tension. So if you're seated, you want to be well supported in that chair rather than having to hold yourself up, which is why, again, if you can do this lying down, whether in bed or on a flat surface or on the couch, that is ideal, because you can just completely let your bones relax and sink in to the support of the ground. So find a comfortable position and see if you can simply let go and let yourself be supported by the ground. So now you can take a minute to tune into your breathing and begin to relax. I personally find it's best to close my eyes. It just reduces the amount of distraction as well. Since we're going to be looking inwards, it kind of clears things a bit. Now, the motion we're going to be looking for, so I talk about this rhythm and this ebb and flow. What we're looking for is it's a sort of circling motion. I think of it sort of like a plate that's upside down, that rolls around its edge but never falls flat, and its movement can be uneven in parts, perhaps a bit sticky, perhaps a bit clunky and more square. What I'm looking for are parts that have this uneven rhythm, and I'm aiming to encourage those parts to be restored, so to speak, to an even and gentle motion. In my experience, a gentle and even circular motion seems to correspond with a feeling of calm and clarity. So basically, it's what I'm hoping for and looking to promote. So that nice, even, circular, rhythmic, gentle movement, it's what we're hoping for, it's what we're aiming for, and it's what we want to promote. But on the other hand, what I want to resolve or what I want to notice are areas where this motion appears to be disordered or disorganized. So where it's a bit clunky, maybe a bit sticky, maybe a bit asymmetrical, or the rhythm is a bit off, and that'll become clear as you practice this. So as you continue to breathe, we can begin to scan the body for these rhythms. They are generally extremely subtle, but they will become clearer and more apparent with practice. You can simply see, as you lie down and as you relax, you can see what part of your body you're drawn to, and just go there. But if you're new to this and you feel you lack awareness of your body, you can focus on a specific body part of your choice from the start. Now, obviously, it makes sense to focus on a body part that's been causing you pain, or maybe a body part that just doesn't feel right, and it can help to have visual knowledge of that body part. So if you're struggling to notice anything, if you've picked a body part, say, presumably you're more likely to be interested in your low back, think of your low back, focus on that, and what you could do is you could even look up anatomical drawings, just so you have an awareness of these are the bones, these are the muscles, these are the structures, just so you can kind of picture it in your mind, because it is very much a visualization exercise in a sense. So you can think of those individual muscles, even the organs as well. We're going to do a lot of work with the organs and the bones and the organs in front of the spine. So there's pretty much everything in your belly, again, if you're focusing on your low back. Personally, I find it easiest to focus on the bones, to focus on the joints, and to focus on the organs, as they have a clear physicality that's easy to tune into. They've got this, you could almost physically touch it and feel the boundaries of those structures. And as you relax, as you begin to scan the body part, scan the area, see if you can feel the blood flow in the area, and notice if it feels warm, if the area maybe feels cold, if it feels full, maybe it feels empty, maybe it feels overactive. There are no wrong answers, and there's endless amounts of words that you can use to describe this. It's entirely subjective. The point is, you're just noticing what that feels like. We're not passing any judgment. We're simply drawing our focus to an area and observing it. Now, when I ask you to focus on a specific body part, I find it helps to think of shining a flashlight to that area. Your mind is focused on it, and it's as if you're projecting an image of the area in front of your mind's eye. And I think about it as if you've got a projector in front of on your forehead, or in front of your, like, in your eyes, in front of your eyes, and that's what you're looking at. You're projecting this image of that body part right in your mind's eye, so to speak. It can also help to turn your eyes and turn your head towards the area. So if it's your low back, try and look at the low back. Try and orient your eyes to the low back and to that area if possible. again, still keeping your eyes closed, because it's very much about the intention. It's not about seeing it, physically seeing it. It's about the intention and the effort of trying to see it. Again, it's hard to explain, but it makes sense as you try it. So now, I want you to continue to observe that body part that you've chosen, or the body part that you've been drawn to, and see if you can perceive this gentle circular motion. And it could be a motion of the entire area. It could be just of one specific bone, of one specific muscle or organ, or one specific point. Just notice whatever is happening. Now, if you're able to perceive this motion, that's great. In that case, we can try to look a bit deeper. But if you can't feel anything at all, don't worry. With practice, you'll become more in tune with this. It's sort of like any kind of perception. It can be honed and cultivated, just like any kind of skill and any kind of dexterity. You practice this and it becomes easier and it becomes second nature. And that's been my personal experience. At this point, I've gotten to a point where I can just perceive this almost at a moment's notice. I can just focus on an area and I can begin to feel that rhythm. And the same if I'm working with someone, treating them, I can feel that rhythm. And it's just what you're trained to do as a therapist, but you have that capacity in yourself because you own your body and because you have senses. So that's why I think it's so beneficial. So if you're able to perceive this motion, perfect. Let's look a bit deeper. Let's look at what we can change. What I want you to do is, if you notice the motion being a bit clunky, being a bit uneven, being maybe not feeling quite right, let's see if we can simply try to influence that motion. And I very much want you to focus on the intention here, as if you had telepathic abilities, as if you're sitting at your desk and there's a pen on the desk and you're trying to move it with your mind. You're trying to do that in your body. You're perceiving that rhythm and you're just seeing, can you influence it? Can you improve it? Can you make it smoother? You don't want to physically force it. You just want to will it into better motion. So from here, if you're comfortable with that, this exercise can go in a number of directions. In my own experience, sometimes I'll follow and tune into the motion of a part or an area and have it ripple out to the rest of the body, and it sort of feels like an unwinding. As I feel it ripple out, it's as if once you tune into that rhythm with your entire body, it sort of unravels and unwinds, like it all comes into sync, all in sync with one another. And it can be really pleasant, and sometimes it leads to large sort of twisting and stretching movements, sort of like you see animals doing. The way they stretch, they don't stretch like when we go to touch our toes. They stretch in this sort of pandiculating way, which is it's a distinction from stretching, and that's a term from the area of somatics, if you're familiar. But it's not so much a stretching as it is a reaching and extending, which sort of creates a sensation of stretch, but it's far more than a stretch. And really what we want is for the movement to be intuitive and for it to just sort of happen, not in this purposeful, I'm going to stretch my hamstrings and touch my toes. You're just following that rhythm, you're having it ripple out to the body, and you're just sort of unwinding and stretching. And again, very, very hard to put into words. It's something that you sort of need to try and experience and just cultivate over time. And sometimes you need to just allow it to happen, just let it happen. But then sometimes you kind of want to coax it to happen, kind of encourage it and almost give yourself permission to move. Maybe give yourself permission to move in a way that maybe feels a bit odd or seems a bit odd, or that you might be embarrassed if someone walked into the room and they'd think, what are you doing just rolling around on the ground? It is odd, but you sort of want to let that happen. I think we get very good at stifling ourselves and not moving and keeping our bodies still. So you want to maybe coax it to happen, but also not force it to happen. What can also happen is that as you focus on the rhythm of one area, another perhaps distant part of your body will begin to move seemingly in unison. And to me, this feels like there's a connection between the two parts, and I think of drawing a line from one to the other. And if I can draw that line between the two, I see if I'm drawn to anything else along that line, or if I can see, I can get the two parts. What I'm trying to do is trying to get the two parts moving perfectly in unison. So what tends to happen for me is that I'll be drawn to one area, I'll observe that, and then something else begins to bubble up and kind of come to my awareness, and I feel a connection, but maybe they're not moving perfectly in sync, and I see, can I get them to move in concert, so to speak. And also, like I said, seeing if I can draw that line between the two, draw a connection. Is there anything along that line that then sort of comes up for me? And the way I think about this is sort of like a rabbit hole, and I'm just chasing it down and seeing what comes up for me. And really, I realize this might sound a bit prescriptive, but this is mostly guided by intuition and curiosity. And I think these are some of the most important aspects of this practice. And it's about cultivating the trust in your body's own wisdom, and simply observing and finding connections, and not necessarily placing any meaning on those connections, just observing, noticing, seeing can you influence, and just experiencing. Now, the final thing I tend to do is to pay attention to memories that come up. I often find that when I begin to tune into a specific part of the body, that a seemingly random memory will pop into consciousness. It just sort of appears. I just think of that and it seems random, and then I simply observe that. I see what stands out about it. Is there a clear relevance to the body part I've been focused on? So it might be that you're thinking about a body part and then you remember the time you were injured in that body part, and there can be clear connections like that. But it could be something that seems completely random, completely unrelated. So just see, is there a theme or a pattern that you notice? And sometimes you can go down a rabbit hole of various memories that all relate to specific aspects of your life. That's been my experience. I'll notice something, and then I move on to something, and then move on to something else. And often they're all different events, but they're connected by one thing, perhaps a specific emotion, or perhaps by a specific person. They're all events involving a specific person, or a specific life event that has continued to ripple in your life. So it might be something really significant that happened to you, and then several instances after that were somewhat related, where what happened affected you again on that day and then on this day, and you begin to see like a connection. I sort of think about it like you're in your mind, and you're in when they're trying to solve a crime, detectives, and they draw pins and they draw connections. There's a great from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He's making connections, Charlie Day, and it's sort of like that. You're drawing all these connections and you're seeing these lines, and it's all sort of becoming clear to you. And again, that's just my own interpretation of it. But I've just found that really, really helpful to think of it that way, and really rewarding and enriching to sort of go down this path and go into this level of introspection. So, like I said, this level of detail, doing things to this point, and this level of introspection becomes far clearer and far easier if you do lots of expressive writing, surrounding your life, surrounding your past experiences, and in the hope of understanding any of your limiting beliefs, which we covered in the last episode. So anything that you can bring up for yourself and that you can analyze your life will make this far easier to feel these connections and feel how these events are felt in your body and the impact that they have in your body. And so recently, well, probably the past 3 years, but in particular very recently, I've been doing a lot of personal development work, and I think everyone should be doing this as a priority if they're seeking better health or radical improvements in their life. But I do a lot of this kind of work, and as I've gotten to know myself better and to consider my past and how it has shaped me, I've found it easier to do this kind of introspective work. And it's also, it's just been so insightful and so rewarding. And like I said, it's very hard to explain. It's very hard to put into words what you're really going to get from this and what you're going to gain, because it's so subjective. But I think there's so many possibilities there. So now you can do this. There's no really set time for doing this. You can do it for a few minutes. I tend to sort of set a timer for at least 30 minutes, or maybe not even set a timer, but just plan to do 30 minutes to an hour, and I just lie down and I just observe. And obviously the more you do it, the more things are going to come up, the more you're going to feel the benefits, the more you're going to be able to do this. But start with anything. Start with 5 minutes, start with 10 minutes, and see, can you perceive that rhythm? As I said at the start, it is a very personal and subjective practice, but I'm confident that the ability to perceive and observe the body's rhythms is of great benefit to anyone seeking better health, less pain, and more presence in their life. So if you want to be more present, if you want to appreciate life more, if you want to be able to just appreciate life more, I think there aren't many better practices, and I think it teaches us to allow things to come up to the surface. That's a major benefit of this. I think people in chronic pain can become very good at internalizing things and very good at dulling the body's signals, because we get very good at coping. Because we're in pain and we have to keep going, we get good at silencing that and silencing whatever is driving that. I believe this is one of the major things that keeps us in pain and that masks the true cause of that pain. It's that ability to dull things, and it sort of happens inevitably after being in pain for a long time. You will dull, and you will sometimes become numb to certain types of sensations. So I'd encourage you to try this with an open mind. See if you can begin to perceive the rhythms. See if you can compare and contrast the rhythms between different body parts. See if you can influence the rhythms. See if those rhythms lead you down a path of more clarity and more connections. Then take a note of those connections. I find it best to write about my experiences afterwards. So do 30 minutes, an hour, and then just write about the connections. And then it's sometimes in the process of writing that you get an aha moment. Or what you can also do, and what I do sometimes, is I go into these introspective exercises right after spending some time writing about and exploring a certain experience. So I might think about that time I had. I'll use a personal example. We did a race in primary school and my ankle was hurting. This is where all my issues started, with my ankle, and I used my ankle pain as an excuse for my lack of fitness and for my lack of preparation in that race. And so I will write about that. I'll write about that, how that made me feel and how that has rippled out through my life. And I'll sort of bring that up to the surface, and it can have a sort of priming effect, and it helps to draw things out. And then I look internally, then I lie down, and then I sit with those sensations. I perceive those rhythms. I see what comes up. I see what I can allow to just release, so to speak, and just be done with and be let go. You can think about this very much in a letting it go. Your body's been holding on to it for all this time, and you're just saying, okay, I've accepted this, I've made my peace with it, it's done. So again, a lot of this is just whatever way you want to frame it, whatever way makes sense to you. Some people like to think of pushing things away. Once you notice things that are holding you back, you can kind of think of embodying the act of pushing things away, or people write things and then they burn the paper. It's ritual, it's whatever works for you. And that's what I mean. You really want to go into this with an open mind and just allow yourself to do whatever feels right, without the fear of judgment, without the fear of anything. Okay. So give that a go and let me know what you think. Let me know if it made sense as well. I would love to know if I've actually explained this properly, or explained it in a good enough way, because like I said, it's so subjective, and it's an internal experience. You can't put words into it, really. You can't really, well, it seems to me like you can't really fully do it justice through words. It needs to be experienced. And I learned this mostly through experience. I learned it through touch, through the treatment of others, and then through introspection. I didn't learn this from a book. I didn't learn this from a podcast. But hopefully I'm giving you permission and enough guidance for you to learn it for yourself once you have that little nudge in the right direction. So thanks for listening. As usual, be sure to follow the Back Pain Coach on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook. Sign up for the newsletter, like, comment, any questions, comment, any criticism, constructive criticisms. Let me know. Like I said, I'd like to know, if I could have explained that better, if anything's unclear, I'd like to clarify that with you. Please share this with someone who needs it. This could be the piece of information that changes their life for the better. This is a big thing I keep going on about, and it's a point I really like to make, is that in my personal experience, healing from chronic pain is more so about sort of eureka moments, light bulb moments, rather than specific techniques. It's not about, oh, you got this chiropractic adjustment, now everything's solved. It's about a mindset shift, and then your life changes because you see the world. It's sort of like the Matrix. I don't like making that analogy, but it's the red pill, blue pill thing. I think you take the red pill, that's the one to see things as they are, and then suddenly the world is completely different, and you see things differently. So in most cases, I think recovery from chronic persistent back pain that's not responding to average treatments, it's about a complete mindset shift. It's about a red pill moment, or several moments that allow you to change your life and do things that are working for you. So by sharing this with someone who might need it, you might offer one of those moments for them, and you could be a significant player in their recovery. So that's something to consider, and something that would be nice for anyone to do. So before I go, my complete back pain relief 8-week program starts again on the 28th of April. If you're watching this after that date, I'm going to be doing them every couple of months anyway. But yeah, the back pain course is back. If you'd like to be pain-free in 8 weeks, and you're ready to look inwards, you're ready to try something different, this course is for you. 8 weeks to pain-free or your money back. That's my guarantee. So let me know if you have any questions about that. You can sign up for the program or read about all the ins and outs of that via the description via the link in the description. And again, all the resources, everything you need are in the description. So long-winded wrap up. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. See you.